to recognize the women who have come before us, right? We have had some amazing women who have forged the way, and I really like to delve deep into what is considered male dominated industries. Male dominated industry. So as you know, dealing with money and financial services and coaching is definitely a male dominated industry, and women have begun to take over. But let's look at some of the other firsts that have come before us to pave the way. So we've already had our first black president. Now we have our first black female vice president, who has at some point in time, maybe but for a short period of time, she actually has been endowed with the powers of the presidency because Joe Biden was incapacitated. So in a small way, she has been the first black female president. See, they don't tell you that, but at some point, Joe Biden was rendered for health reasons and
Mm-hmm.
surgical procedure. He was incapacitated, and those powers were transferred to the vice president. And so, if but for 30 minutes, maybe an hour, we had a female president. So you say what you want, say what you want, say what you want. It has happened. It has happened. But at some point in time, even before she made it to the White House, we have had several black women come up through the military. Now we know women fought hard to get in the military. They fought hard to be participants in the military. And what I have found amazing are some of the positions that women have achieved, not because it was impossible for them to do. For me as a civilian, I'm like, okay, I think it's so great and wonderful that our women are joining the military, but to go all the way up the ranks, I'm just amazed at the things that we as women, especially black women, continue to accomplish. So let's get into some of our first. So I went into the military and then started researching who had done what. And then it came back to my memory at the time when I pledged Delta Sigma Sorority Incorporated in 2010. We were tasked with finding some notable deltas. And one of the ones that I recognized for her accomplishments was Brigadier General Hazel Johnson Brown. Not just because she had the same last name as me or that we share a last name.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. But because in 1979 she was the first black chief of the Army Corps and the first female brigadier general in the Army. Right. And so I was like, okay, so what is a brigadier general and who does that? They up there.
One star. They one
They
star
up
general.
there. Okay.
Yep.
She was a 1-star general, and timing had a lot to do with her success in the military because she entered the military shortly after President Truman had banned segregation and discrimination in the armed forces. So, and then that was in 1979 when she became the first black female brigadier general, and then she was inducted into Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated as an honorary member in 1981. And being a member of the sorority, it's no wonder that following her retirement, she went into the medical professional as a nurse, but she retired. She also continued her career as an educator. She was instrumental in founding the Center for Health Policy, designed to educate and involve nurses in health policy and policy design. She retired from teaching in 1997. So that would be Brigadier General Hazel Johnson Brown, making her way as a 1-star general in the Army and later becoming a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So when I think about 1970s. Okay, let's go back to the 1970s. I was a little girl then. I was a little girl then. But when I think of the time of what our people were going through as Black women, especially struggling to forge our way and be recognized as more than sexual objects, like really pressing forward to make our way in all different fields, and for her to reach that accomplishment. Very proud to say that she is a Black woman, in addition to a member of my esteemed sorority. Okay, all right. So I wanted to go a little further and find out, okay, so there are levels to this brigadier general, like so stars and stuff, right? So who was the first Black female three-star general? None other than Lieutenant General Naja West. Okay. A trailblazer, as she was the first African American Surgeon General, Army Surgeon General, the first African American woman to become a three-star general, and the highest ranking woman graduate of West Point. Dang, that girl bad. Okay, that girl bad. She did this, and then she did this, and then she did this. It's as if she said, "You know what? I'm gonna accomplish this, and then I'm gonna top that off, and then I'm gonna put a side dish of this on it." Absolutely amazing. And again, in one of the most male-dominated industries of our military, and that is important because it goes to the heart of saying to our young Black girls, you can be anything if you set your mind to it.
Amen.
You can do, you can become, you can be anything that you decide that you want to be, and then put in the work. See, we can't reach the accomplishments without putting in the work. Got to put in the work. And so these are just a few of the accomplishments within the military. And my last one that I want to recognize is Major General Lorna Maylock, who is officially the highest ranking Black female officer in the Marine Corps. Now, let me say,
Simplify.
okay, listen. She
Simplify.
is a two-star general in the Marine Corps, and she was appointed under President Joe Biden. So that's very recent, during this current administration. But here's the thing: you got the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. Then the Marines are like something all by itself, right? Navy SEALs within the Navy, but the Marine Corps, they have always been like the hardest of the hard to get into. Like you just don't walk up and sign up. I'm joining the Marine Corps. It's not like
No.
that. And so,
Only
and
a
then
few are chosen.
only a few I chose, and then I'm a fan of NCIS, uh, naval intelligence. And but listen, where did Mark Harmon come from? To give,
Hmm.
he was simplified all day long, and it was always something very different about people who were in the Marine Corps. And so
Absolutely.
for her to not only be selected and admitted to the Marines, but to also achieve the ranks of a two-star general, I take my hat off to all of those ladies for their accomplishments in the military. And I say to anyone whose young daughter is interested in pursuing that career, it's possible. And these
Yes.
are just a few of the ladies that I researched about as far as their military career and their accomplishments. And even after their time in the military, they went on to have extensive careers in other parts of the world as far as teaching and educating and nursing. So they left one career, went to the other. And I believe the military was a second career for Naja West. I believe that was a second career. But either way, they achieved some ranks that even some men have not achieved.
Mm-hmm.
So they were trailblazers by their own accord. So that brings me to my first station ID, We are here on the Brownstone Worldwide and KCCR Radio, where we are changing the narrative for our Black and Brown communities, telling our stories our way, because if they are still being told wrong in the next 30, 40, 50 years, that falls on us, not them. So, one of the things that I learned as an adult in life, do you hear me, as an adult in my life, was about Black Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, Paulette. Hey,
Hey,
Paulette.
boss lady.
Learned about Black Wall Street as a good and grown adult. Um, but little did I know, Cool and the Gang is one of my favorite. That's right. You are right where you belong. Cool and the Gang is one of my favorite groups from the 80s and 90s, right? So I had no idea that the song "You Dropped a Bomb on
I'm on. Oh, that's the Gap
Me,"
Band. Gap, yeah,
yeah,
Gap Band.
babe, woo,
Yeah,
child. Thank you. I had
yeah,
no idea that that's what that was about.
yeah.
You've been singing the lyrics all these years, and it wasn't until I was an adult that I knew what they were actually singing about. So thank you, Yvette. Thank you, Paulette. She would know too. She get on my nerves. Darn Arrested Development member. But just realizing that what Black Wall Street looked like. Um, And so Paulette says GAP is the actual acronym for the three main streets in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. See, we all get educated day in and day out. Tony, don't start none. Don't
Hey,
start.
I just saying. I just saying. I
I don't
just
know what
saying.
else. But it is, so to understand that people who look like me, people who look like Tony, were millionaires living in their own community, um, keeping money within their own community, which we don't see a lot in our community these days. And if we want to see that change, we've got to be that change, right?
Amen.
But learning that as an adult, like, man, why was this not in the history book? Now I'm starting to go back to Michael Evans on Good Times. Don't tell me about that. I know who I'm talking about now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Evans talking about some mom and dad. We need to buy black encyclopedias because they don't teach us this in school. They don't teach us about our own history. And parents can no longer rely on the school system to teach our children about our history. Yes,
Hmm.
it should be in the book, right? Do you agree with that, Tony?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Look, when I was coming up, we had African American history.
that right there. I didn't
You
get
know,
that to college though.
s-
I didn't get African American studies until college. And at that time, it did not, it wasn't pressed upon me to take those courses. I picked one because it was either that or another science
or
or
another.
another math. Let me go on here and get this African American study class and learn something about me. And that was when I learned more about um, the different organizations dealing with the civil rights and how children and young adults were involved with that and that leadership and the Black Panther movement. I had a child by the time I had learned that.
Mm.
Learn who Angela Davis really was and how she
And
worked
how she worked.
behind
Oh
the
wow.
listen.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Girl, listen. That was one of the luxuries I had of growing up, and because I went to Paul Laurence Vocational Dun.
Dunbar.
Yeah, Dunbar. I went to Dunbar, and man, it was a must that we had to take a African American course. Period.
Mm-hmm.
That was prerequisite. You
Yep.
got to.
Got
You know what I'm
to.
saying? And
Right.
and that's where I got my introduction to learning about Moors was black and they was some rich travelers. You know what I'm saying, man? They make it seem like we just came from just over there, but we've been everywhere.
That's it. That's
You know,
it.
and
And so, how do we teach our kids if we don't do independent studying on our history, so that we can teach our children to know better? Right? Because when I start talking about your money habits and your money traumas, That means go back in your history and find where your habits came from. How were they
Hmm.
formed? What did you see? Who did what? If you don't look at the historical part that helped found create the foundation of where you are, you don't know how you got here. It's no different from our history. If
Thank you.
you don't know what our ancestors did, experience, what they fought for, what they died for, you don't appreciate how you get here. You don't understand how you got here. You don't know how to take those things from the past and either avoid the mistakes that they made or build on the foundation that they laid to make it better and
Yes.
improve on it and then continue on with their legacy. That's because you're not educated. Not educated. And we can't rely on the school system to be our only source of education. For example, when I was in law school, I had some teachers that would come in, hand your syllabus, tell you show up on time for class. They didn't care what you did in class. And by the time the season was over, the semester was over, you had better learn whatever was on that syllabus. But you ain't really taught me nothing. Oh, that's on you. Because
Hmm.
they either gonna get paid or they already got paid. So it's on you to learn. I'll never forget my third grade teacher, Miss Carter. Third grade, you about 8, 7, 8 years old. Just imagine this, Tony. 7, 8 years old. She's sitting in there in her first and welcome to third grade. I'm Miss Carter. You better learn all you can because I already got mine.
Mm. 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 I
Third
mean,
grade.
just like bam, right there.
Third grade.
Really, lady?
Right, exactly. Exactly. You are in the inner city school system, and this is what you tell your third grade students on the first day of class. I was
Mm.
like, Mama, please put me in something. Mama, I don't like this lady. And Lord knows I didn't. I fought every day mentally in this woman's class. She was horrible.
Mm.
But I do remember what she said. I got mine. You better get yours. That's in
Wow.
essence what she said in the third grade.
And
Now,
it's still
and it's still,
lasted.
yes, it
It's
is. It's
scarred right there.
still
It's
there.
just. Mm.
It's still there. And so then I move forward and I have my experiences. The rest of my teachers, so my fourth and fifth grade teacher was the same teacher, Miss Franklin. And Miss Franklin was a drinker. My sixth grade teacher was Gladys Booya. She was very much into teaching children, making sure we learn. My seventh grade teacher didn't look like us, but she was a good teacher, Miss McWethy. And then Miss Hill. Miss Hill, Bertha Hill, was the first teacher that I knew had ever gone to an HBCU.
Mm.
Okay, she in historically black college. She went to Alcorn State. Now
Ooh.
you see certain things you remember about the teacher,
Yeah.
certain things you remember.
Yeah.
And then there was my social studies teacher, Mr. Spencer, who was the husband of my first grade teacher, Mrs. Spencer. Right, so I got
Hmm.
her in first, him in eighth, and I'll never forget Tony. And I'm saying this, I'm going into this into the mindset of those who are teaching our kids.
Hmm.
How every teacher who teaches shouldn't necessarily be teaching.
Absolutely.
Okay. So in the eighth grade, we like 12, 13 years old. And so you remember when Mayor Byrne, Jane Byrne, when she
Hmm.
won her first mayoral election, okay? She won by going into the poor parts of the city, the projects, and giving out whatever she was giving out. Well, this particular holiday season, she was giving out turkeys. And my social studies teacher made it a point to say, you people put her in office. Sir, you're not talking about me because I'm not even old enough to vote. So you must be talking about my mama. Right? Your mama, you don't like the way my mama voted? If she voted for, because I doubt very seriously, my mama probably would have wrote in Mickey Mouse and voted for him before
Right.
she voted for that lady. But I'm not sure because I didn't see the ballot that she dropped in the box. But don't sit here and talk about you people and what you people did. Don't look down your nose at the students. This way, talk to the parents if you want to give some education, but I suggest you change your wording before you talk to my mama. Because if you think I ain't rap tight, where you think came from? Where you think came from? And so I got sent to the principal's office because I said, you must be talking about our parents. Would you like my mama to come to class? Get out of my class.
Right. You got to go.
You got to go. But by the time I got down to the assistant principal's office, he was like, Nicole, go on back to class. Just go on back to class. Just go on back to class and don't be telling him to call your mom because you know she'll show up. He apparently don't know she'll show up. So we can't leave the education of our children solely in the hands of the teachers. And we can't allow our children to just sit and hear what these teachers say without giving them the voice to be able to speak up for themselves respectfully, but still be able to speak their own opinion. So, again, this is the Brownstone Worldwide, where we broadcast live also on KCCR Radio, where we are changing the narrative for our Black and Brown communities. So let's look at some more first Black women in our history. So this one is near and dear to me because I had to go and see who was the first Black woman admitted to law school in the U.S. and then to become the first one to be admitted to the bar. Miss Charlotte Ray was the first Black American female lawyer in the United States, and she graduated law school in 1872. That is 100 years before I was born. 100 years before I was born, okay? She was the first Black woman lawyer in the United States and the first woman to practice law in Washington, D.C. And I find that very important because you listen to her name is Charlotte E. Ray. During that time, when she was accepted into the law school, she was going to law school at night. This is what Black women do, right? We've been doing it for years. She's going to law school at night while she attended class during the day, while she was teaching at Howard University and attending law school at Howard School of Law. Okay, so then she went on, she graduated in February of 1872. At that time, women were not allowed to be members of the bar. So imagine what she did to get in, take that test, and pass. She had to list her name as C.E. Ray. That's how
Hmm.
her bar license was listed. C.E. Ray. She had to hide her identity, but they couldn't do anything once she got there because she had her papers in order. And so she went on to practice law, specializing in commercial law. And she took on cases, and one of her notable cases was an African American woman who filed for divorce from her abusive husband. On the lower level, the petition was denied, but it was overturned on appeal when she was able to argue that her husband's drunkenness was detrimental to her client's life, and she was granted her petition for divorce. So when I think about the things that women have had to overcome to be able to practice law, get in the military. And then now I'm just listening to you had to actually file an appeal to get a divorce. What was they gonna make her do? Stay with the man? What kind of mess is that? But that is what women have been fighting for all of their lives. Um, so Ray was unable to obtain sufficient cases for to represent in her business. So she subsequently closed her practice. She worked in education in the Brooklyn public school system. She was an advocate for social justice. She attended the National Women's Suffrage Association's annual convention in New York City, and she joined the National Women of Colored Women, National Association of Colored Women. And so, again, we've been fighting for a long time for the rights for Black women. We've been fighting a long time for the rights of Black women. Okay. Charlotte Ray lived to the age of 60. She was 60 years old when she passed away. But her contributions to the practice of law continued well after her death. There are at least two annual awards made in her name: the annual Charlotte E. Ray Award of the Greater Washington Area chapter of the Women Lawyers Division of the National Bar Association, and the MCCA Charlotte Ray Award presented to a woman lawyer for her exceptional achievements in the legal profession. Listen, first, the military. We dominated education, we dominated nursing, and now we are taking on social justice. And so that brings me to um, the first African American woman to practice before the United States Supreme Court. Mm. Violet Neatley Anderson in 1926 became the first African American female attorney admitted to practice before the United States Supreme Court. Now, Tony, this is where you gonna love. This is, if you ain't love nothing else, this part you gonna love. Anderson was born on July 16th, a few weeks after, she's a Cancer, in London, England, and her family immigrated to the United States and settled in where? Chicago, Chicago, home of the Sears Towers. She graduated from a Chicago high school in 1899 and furthering her education and went on to Chicago Seminary of Sciences. Violet married, her first marriage ended in divorce, but she remarried and took on her husband's name, who at the time was a general practitioner. She served in a courtroom as a court reporter for 15 years before attending Chicago Law School. In 1920, she graduated from the law school and established a private practice after passing her bar and being licensed in before the United States Eastern District of Illinois. She was one of the first women of any race in the state of Illinois to engage in private law practice. So she just came out the gate being first of first of first. In 1922, she successfully defended a woman accused of murdering her husband. This courtroom success resulted in her being appointed to assistant prosecutor in Chicago. She was both the first African American and the first woman appointed to that post. Um, she was admitted to practice before the Supreme Court in 1926. So she went on to become an active force in lobbying in front of Congress for the passage of the Bankhead Jones Act, which provided sharecroppers and tenant farmers the ability to have low interest loans to buy small farms. The bill was designed to move poor agriculturalists from farm workers to farm owners. Again, changing the narrative for our communities. Instead of just being the farmer, now we own property. That bill was signed into law in 1937 by President Franklin Roosevelt. So listen, I am a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. But let me give some homage to Anderson. She was a member of the Federation of Colored Women's Clubs and different social agencies. She also served as the vice president of the Cook County Bar Association, and she was the eighth Grand Basilisk, aka president of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Mm. Her will bequeathed her property. I want you to listen to this part, Tony. Listen to this part. Her will bequeathed her property at the all black resort in Idlewild, Michigan, to her sorority, keeping it in the community. The sorority continues to honor her legacy annually during the month of April with Violet Anderson Day. Mm, okay, so we're moving into the present time where fighting for women's rights and social justice for Black women is coming to the forefront. So I just have to tell you, it would not be in my best interest to not tell you about the women's suffrage and Delta Sigma Theta sorority's role in that parade. Okay, so Woodrow Wilson, a leader of the progressive movement, was the 28th president of the United States. He was sworn in 1913. That should sound familiar to all my whoops out there, okay? So it's the perfect time for the women's suffrage movement of 1913 to come about. This event revived the push for a federal woman suffrage amendment. Women's suffrage is the right for women to vote in elections, and the organizers planned the parade on the day prior to Wilson's inauguration. That was on March 3rd in 1913. 22 founders, our 22 thought leaders, our 22 we ain't taking this laying down women marched in a parade in their cap and gown with other university women, making Delta Sigma Theta sorority the only African American sorority to participate in the procession. In Congress passed on June 4th, my son's birthday, and ratified on August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment, which granted women the right to vote. Now, those are all great firsts in our history. But we as African American women are still fighting the good fight, because even though the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote, we still had to fight for years and years and years to protect that right. We had to fight years and years and years to protect that right. And even today, Tony, Black women are dealing with discrimination in the job force. We're still fighting for equal pay and equal rights, equal promotions. A lot of women are still having to sue to be promoted. They're being discriminated against for color and just all sorts of things that you would think that in today, 2023, America could be great. I'm gonna leave that again part off because I don't remember reading that in my history book. I'm looking for the great. What do you think? You looking for the great?
Ain't no great. And whoever said that lied, and they know they lied.
Listen, hey Tom, just because you brought that part up, I don't know if you read the news. That
Hmm.
the person who coined that slogan of "Let's make America great again" has been indicted over there in the state of New York.
Yeah, but you know, him being such the slippery worm snake that he is, he gonna flip this script, and this gonna catapult him into the Republican uh, #1 candidate for the presidency. Watch what I tell you.
Now, I listen. I don't. I won't dispute that. Okay, I won't dispute that. It's a possibility,
Mm,
right? But here's what my guts tell me. I got a couple of them. I got a gut for
okay,
each belly. You got a gut for each belly, right?
right.
I think that if that happens, whoever is the seed candidate in the Democratic Party
Hmm.
has an even better chance of winning.
Hmm.
Let me tell you, I don't even when John McCain Now, this is my personal opinion. We are here live on the Brownstone Worldwide and KCCR Radio, but these are the opinions of the Nicole Johnson. So don't be calling Paulette. Don't be sending her no hate mail because she gonna turn around and send it back. But
Right.
just in case you need to know, this is my opinion. When John McCain brought Sarah Palin on as his running buddy, he sealed the deal for the Democrats. I that's just what I think. You ain't got to you know ain't got we ain't got to say nothing more about that. But I think that when we look at what Agent Orange has done in the White House before, I I think I might have to question my membership here in the U.S. of A. If
Thank you.
brought back to the to Pennsylvania Avenue again.
Again.
I might have to look at my papers and wonder if I need to follow the Taylors over what's the city they going to that dual membership. I may have to consider that
Hmm.
because and we don't get into political thought too much. We
Not
just
too much,
have
but
opinions in here.
it's a
He
part.
didn't do anything for us. Matter of fact, most of what he did was counterintuitive or counteractive or detrimental to us. So it would be I could think of a whole lot of words to describe what it would be if he came back to office, and I don't think I should be saying that across the airways. But y'all,
Across the airway.
know,
Yeah.
because listen, God ain't petty, but I am.
There it is. There it is. I can show you, but I can tell you.
Hey, listen. Anytime somebody turn around and tell them, grab them by the,
The
I might want
biscuits.
to listen. I might want to know if we should be grabbing him by his.
Mmm.
Maybe he is a missing. Always
It's always that possibility.
that possibility. So, we just really want to be mindful of the fights that's still going on, right? We don't want to be distracted by the things that are out there that stay on the forefront, the gossip tabloids and all of that, when we really have some distractions that are major things that are destructive to our community.
Hmm.
Right. And I can't call it off the top of my head, but Paulette was talking about several different laws that they're trying to pass in Florida that are on the college campuses where they want to remove the Greek organizations. Well, Greek organizations are an outlet for students where it allows them to come together and join other like-minded individuals. But they want to remove those organizations from the college campuses. They also speak up to defend student rights student rights, right? That goes, and you know what? That takes me back to SNCC.
Hmm.
All the organizations that were for young adults to help fight the fight of the civil rights movement. So what are you trying to do to us? Because that's not great again, right? But as we close out Women's History Month, Tony, we have so many things to be grateful for.
Amen.
We really do. We have so many things to be grateful for. We have a lot of people who are still fighting on the forefront for us, for civil rights, for equality, for equal rights in so many things. Health care. Oh, I think that's a big one. What do you think?
Healthcare and mental health.
Oh yeah.
And mental health, man. Cause it's it's ironic how a government can have agencies and organizations at one point in time that was willing to help people with that has been diagnosed like that. Even had the facilities. Remember, Mantina and send your ass to St. Charles. You know what I'm saying? They
Mhm.
had the facilities, but
Mhm.
then something came up. Nah, mental health issues is no longer important. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? Especially in the brown and black communities.
Yeah.
It's not important now, you know. So my thing is we got to, that's first and foremost, because if we don't deal with this mental health issue crisis, it's going to continue to be skyrocketing crime here in this, especially here in Chicago. But lately I've been seeing it spread all over the world.
Tony, when I tell you I could drive 5 blocks and 3 out of those 5 blocks have a space where it's like a whole homeless community, tents and people laying on the street, folks walking up and down the street. You can visibly see them talking to themselves, you know, staring off into space. I'm like, boy, if mental health, mental illness is real.
It's
And these
real.
folks are out here on the street. They are targets for um, they are targets for people who don't have anything better to do. I watched a whole episode of Walker, Texas Ranger, where these educated, rich children were going around beating up on homeless people and filming it, and like it's a game.
Hmm.
So, and I pray, Lord, let it be something I can do to help them. Let my business explode so that I can do something as a nonprofit organization to help those who are suffering with mental illness.
Yes.
And because it's rampant. Like even Chicago has, when I was home, I knew that downtown on Wacker Drive and certain places, especially under the viaduct
Lower Wacker.
like
Yeah.
that, you knew there was a homeless people, or there was homeless people there. Here in Dallas, I could walk down the street, downtown Dallas. Like if I come out of the building where my office is and go to the right, I got to bob and weave to get to the 7-Eleven store. And then
Hmm.
I can go in the 7-Eleven. I'm not in there 3 minutes before I hear somebody at the cash register saying, "Get out, get out! You're not buying nothing. Get out!"
Hmm.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. Growing up, what were we told? What happened in this house stays in this house. And that's why you have so many adults dealing with so much trauma because they never sought therapy to deal with the abusive dads and granddads and uncle cousin and all of
Hmm.
this kind of stuff. And so now they're suffering with mental illness now and different types of trauma. But then we have a whole community of people living on the streets and the shelters and the facilities that they don't have enough space. And because you don't have enough doctors to do the treatment, all you're doing is giving them drugs to make them space out even more. That's not helping.
No, that's not helping.
That's not helping. So, as we look at where our communities and our people have come from, right? From the cotton fields, okay, to owning different companies and corporations, we still know that we still have so far to go.
Oh yeah.
We have so much further to go, so much more to do and accomplish. And it's not going to all be done on a basketball court, a football field. It's not going to be done there. It's not going to be done in the recording studio. It takes a lot more effort than that. Now, your contributions to these from these people into these different organizations are great and wonderful, but we need more people out there who look like us standing in the gap for us.
Yes. Yes.
That's what we need. So, Tony, we are wrapping up Women's History Month, and it really has. I have learned a lot just by dealing with and talking to and hearing from the different women who have come and said, listen, this is what it takes to be an entrepreneur. This is what it takes to, have better money management. This is what it takes to fire your boss. This is what it takes to stay in the game. And it has been a wonderful experience. Some things I've been reminded of, some things I said, oh, let me go back and listen to the replay and write that down. So it has been, a wonderful March has been a wonderful month of, um, of, 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 going back into our history, but also dealing with successful women in our present. And guess what? April is my month, right? April is financial literacy. And I'm going to bring this banner back up because I want the audience to have the opportunity to make sure that they get registered for the Power of Prosperity Legacy Summit. This summit is designed by Black women for Black women because it takes some special kind of us as Leanne would say, some zhuzh from us to be able to help change our mindset, right? There are some things that people who are on the outside of our community, until you have experienced what we walk through day to day, you can't always give me advice about what I'm experiencing day to day. So we're going to come together and talk about your finances, talk about your mindset, talk about different ways to bring money into your household without you breaking the bank of a part-time job. So make sure you go to bit.ly/legacy summit GYMM to get registered for this legacy summit. We have quite a few speakers who are going to share with you how you can overcome the day-to-day tasks that are keeping you from reaching your financial freedom. And one of the things that I have been telling them is to actually define, what does financial freedom look like to you? Because it's different for everyone. It could be based on your family makeup, it could be based on where you are, and then in 5 years, it could look different. So
Hmm.
you have to first determine, what does financial freedom look like to you, so that you can start creating a strategic plan to reach that goal. So, DJ Tony, as always, I thank you so much for being here, hanging out, learning, teaching, all those things that you do here. It is just great to be able to get things from a male perspective, because so many times men will say women are trying to be men, and that's not it. Some of us were in situations where there wasn't one there. And so now we have a place where, as a woman, I can get your input, but it's also a place where men who didn't have adult male role models can also get some information too. So, any last words for the people?
Yes, indeed. First and foremost, fantastic, fantastic month being here with you and every one of the queens you brought on. Oh wow, man! Like I picked up so much information, man. So much information, and it ain't about a male or female thing. It's about a bringing us up together thing. You know what I'm saying? What man? I'm gonna extend my hand. I hope you grab it, cause I'm finna help pull you up and let's do this. You know what I'm saying? Let's do this. So continued success with you. I can't wait for April because I know you're gonna be on the cover magazine, cover magazine, cover magazine. Yes, sir. I can't wait for April, and then it's your month with your little thing that you got going on. So continued success for you and yours. Boss lady, still praying for you and the family. Uh, Standing in the gap. Know that I'm here for you. Always will be. And for everybody listening, if your mother's still here and your grandmama's still here, call them tonight and tell them you love them. Tell them you love them. Because we don't know how much more time they got left. And it's best to tell them now while they still here, because we all we got.
Woo! Tony said, "We all we got. We all we got." And that is very heartfelt. Paulette, we are wishing safe travels for you and the family right now. And again, standing in the gap for your strength and your courage. And as Leanne would say if she was here, when you feel what you feel, take the time to feel it. Okay. There's no time limit on what you're going through. Grief has no time limit, right? And all we want you to do is to grieve in a safe environment. So, life happens every day, but I want you guys to understand that our life circumstances hit differently when our finances are in order. So I'm just
Amen.
going to give this as we go into financial literacy. We're going to talk about, do you have a will? When my friends are starting to talk to me about, someone is sick and they on their deathbed, they know this the first thing I do. Now you know what I'm finna ask you, right?
Mm-hmm.
They be like, "What, Nicole?" I'm like, "Are them
They got
financial
insurance.
affairs in order?"
They got insurance.
I need to know because we're not trying to throw up a GoFundMe account. Are these affairs in order? And so that is one of the hardest things to have a discussion about. But I'm here to have that discussion with you because the one thing I hate to see people do is go through grief and financial worries. Grief is enough. Financial worries you can prepare for, and they don't happen. Okay, so during the month of April, we're going to talk about all sorts of things to help you get your financial affairs in order, whether it's a will, whether it's designating your beneficiaries. We're going to talk about all of that. How do I bring in extra money to pay off my debt? How do I define what my financial freedom is? How do I stop being a crutch for somebody who's spending more of my money than I am?
I am. Yes.
Yeah, some of y'all
Yes.
get y'all feelings hurt when that topic come
Yeah.
up.
I saw a lot of people get up and leave when you said that.
I think I heard them too, but
Yeah.
hey Tony,
Mm.
I'm here to give it to them.
Right. We gonna
I'm here
we
to
gonna
give
tell
it.
you the truth.
Yes,
Yeah.
because one of the things, if you don't stop being a crutch that's detrimental to you, these folks will continue to use you as a crutch. And so it's time out for that. It's time to do, what do they tell you to do when you're on a plane? Secure your mask before
Mm-hmm.
you secure
Before you.
somebody else's.
Right.
You'll mess around and put theirs on, and they'll go and put somebody else's on before they try to help you.
Help you.
Wait a minute. Let that sink in.
Yeah. Yeah. Let it sink in.
Let that part sink in. So, when Tony says we all we got, sometimes you got to be looking in the mirror and say, you all you got.
You, absolutely. That we can be a me if you
That's
flip
it.
that W upside down. You know what I'm saying? Flip
Come
that.
on, come on,
Flip
come
that.
on.
Flip
That,
that
yeah,
W. It's
it.
a M.
That's it.
Me all me got.
That's it. Me find me.
Mm-hmm.
Me find me. So, and there's not, self care is not selfish. And even the Bible teaches us take care of self. So you have to take care of you in order to take care of others. And sometimes taking care of you says is no. Boundaries. No. I can't without an explanation. Okay. So I want to leave you guys with that. Do go over to thenicolejohnson.com and download my 10 tips that you can start implementing now to decrease your saving, decrease your expenses, and increase your saving. April, we're going to do a lot of things to start making sure your savings balances go up, your emergency funds go up, and your credit score goes up. You got to put in the hard work because you didn't get here by accident, and it's not going to be overnight, but baby steps. The goal is to start working. So thank you always for attending and watching with Girl Your Money Matters. We love you guys. And we will be back on Monday. I believe we are going to continue throughout the month of April with our broadcast on both Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I appreciate you all for being here, and we'll see you next time.